Hello, my name's Derek. I'm a web developer, and welcome to part 2 of my Building a Website from Scratch series. Today we're going to have a look at the design part of the process and see if we can come up with something. The usual approach I start with is pen and paper, where I'll sort of sketch out very roughly as you can see by these, ideas for designs and just layouts and things. The approach is usually to start lo-fi and then work into some kind of hi-fi type system. As you can sort of see from these bits of paper here, I've got, up in the top here is a little box for a graphic, which later gets turned into a logo. I started doing a menu here, and of course it didn't quite sort of fit, so in the next version I've sort of made it fit a little bit better. I did have this idea of having an image with a sloping side in it, and something kind of architectural, but not so sure of that now, but I still like the idea of the image in the top. Was also thinking of, well, what are the three main areas that they build in? It's houses, offices and retail. And moving to here, I sort of decided to make them probably stand out a bit more. We've sort of started with buttons, and eventually I decided on using an image card type system. Then in the next zone here, which I want to sort of keep above the fold, is the get in touch part, so a nice sort of big button which will click through to the contact page. Then what we've got here are our projects. Now I was thinking about this one too, and I quite like the idea of having an image, then some text, and I thought image text gets a bit boring, so why don't we just alternate this around? And yeah, so now we've got that. Then we've got kind of like a news system here, so we've got images, so a card set up, and then we've got footer. We have a logo. So with the colours, coolers.co does quite a good job of generating colours. So hit the button, and no, I don't need a password. Selecting colours is quite simple. You've got your padlocks here. You start with pressing the spacebar until you see a colour that you like. Oh, this rich black's actually not too bad, so we'll click on that. And then, okay, air superiority blue, and etc, etc, etc. And eventually you can end up with a colour scheme. Now you can save the colour schemes, because each one that's generates with a UUID, so you can save that particular link. I'll leave the link for this down in the description, of course. Typography is always a fun one to deal with, isn't it? It's always hard getting things to sort of scale properly and sort of keep your font sizes in proportion. I find this site, modularscale.com, is pretty useful for that kind of thing. You can select a base. You can actually select multiple bases on this, and a ratio to go with it. So the default we've got here starts with 1 EM down here, 1.5 of it, 2.25, and just keeps going up to the various sizes. So it's going to be way too big for your screen, I would imagine, and you can sort of move it down, but this can be quite useful. Now you've also got these different ratios you can play around with. So we've got a minor second here, but between them. Of course, perfect fifth, which is what we had before. And what else have we got here? A golden section. So you want do a good old Fibonacci. This is how the text will work. I find Fibonacci tends to scale a bit too quickly for my liking. I tend to prefer to go probably something like major thirds, not too bad. Scales kind of nicely. Now, here, where modular scale gets really useful is we've got this little selector here. We can go web or SAS, and it'll give us the scales here. Because it goes in, when I pull it into Adobe XD, often what I'll do is I'll start with a hard-coded font size, and now what we've got here is M. So modular scale 0, 16 pixels, which is 1 EM, 20 pixels, 1.25, etc. So we've got the different sizes of fonts and things, and they relate quite nicely towards each other. You'll also notice over in the side here we've got a variable which we can use for our modular scale SAS. Is what I'll use when I actually get into building the site. Another useful feature is how it displays. You can just grab the values like this, and you now have them to add into your SAS. I've already pre-prepared this and come up with these values here. This is what we've got, and by way of assets we've got colours, a couple of different variations of the logo, the text in different sizes, and you will also notice, you probably won't notice so much, over here with our fonts I've also set the font size or the font type to Montserrat to try and sort of keep it sort of consistent. The Artboard, 1920 by 1080. Started with the desktop version here because that's probably going to be the more complex one to build. The mobile version will most likely consist of blocks stacked on top of each other. Before we go too much further, it's probably a good idea to bring in our colours. So grab these and import them, and do the same with our character styles. Here we go. Next thing to look at is our artboard. I'm going to put the layout bars on it so I can see what I'm doing. Header needs a background colour. We'll create a rectangle here, full width, probably about 64 in height, and let's zero it. Give it a colour. And we'll drop, so 48, yeah. Drop a logo on there. Let's add our menu. We've got home. That's what we got. About. Contact us. Projects. Employment. Right, let's bring these into some kind of sensible order. About. employment, projects, and contact us. Now what are we going to do with these? There. Okay, let's make them look a little bit more like a menu. Projects. They need to be, we'll make them 16 points, so 1 on the system. And let's make them uppercase as well. Probably helps to see them. Fill. We'll give it a white colour. Let's spread them out. Probably doesn't look too bad. Let's line these up. Probably live with that as a first attempt. Next section we've got is our hero. Let's build. Messed this up. 1 in 20. 428's probably okay. And let's 0 it. Right. Don't need a border. But we'll grab an image to whack in there. Okay, let's find an image. This one looks alright. Pull that in. Yep, I can live with that. Now, what was the next thing we had? Rebuild your dream. Okay, make that about a size of a heading 2. Pull that up. Put that into a background. Something around that size. Maybe 96. Make it a multiple and give it a colour. Move it back. Yep. Starting to take shape. Let's grab our text. We'll centre that in there. That might work. Glass morphic type thing, that seems to be. So let's give it a background blur. That looks pretty horrible. Let's darken it down. Okay. Let's take a look at this in preview and see what we've got. Yeah. Probably get rid of a few borders. Make this a bit whiter. Maybe bring this up a bit. And we might have something. Okay, get rid of the border here. Remove the border here. Fill text needs to be much lighter. We'll make it white. And how is this work going down a bit more? So maybe 380, 350. 300's probably a bit small. So around about 350 would work. Okay. Let's format these nicely. Center things, and we'll make that into a group. And we'll center that on there. Yep, I think I can. Next part should probably tell people what we do. We'll do maybe about that size, and what do we have? We had homes, make that a bit darker, highlight the whole lot. Probably worth another yeah, this will work. Let's move that down. That. We'll make some cards to make this show us what we do. Grab that bit, whack that there. That needs to move up. There we go. Homes, move them up too, and let's drop an image in there. Okay. Group those together. Let's make a couple of copies. Pull that into the center. So that's and retail. We'll grab some pictures and put in there. So for offices, this one will probably work. Yeah, and retail, drop in a picture of a shop. Let's get a preview. Yeah, it's not quite balanced, but we can center that when we do our CSS. But yeah, that's not too bad. Time for a call to action. So let's just make this a little bit bigger. The dotted line here shows where the fold will be on that screen. Give it a band, and we don't need a border. give it a fill. Do the light blue one here. Match up there. And keep that black at the moment. Next thing you want to do is make this into some kind of a button. Give it a green background. Let's zoom in on there. Maybe because it's a button, we'll give it a slightly rounded border. Grab this text, whack that up here, bring that up above it. Now we can probably make this button a little bit smaller. So that's 95. What if we make it? What happens if we make it 64? Yep, that works with the 48 text. Yep. Now width here is 215. So about 245 width. 5. Maybe give it some extra 255. Center it out. Yeah, we'll group that. Center that on the page, center that in the block. Yeah. What's the preview look like? White text perhaps. Okay. Perhaps. I wonder how. Do a contrast check. Fails to contrast check. So if I make that black. Completely black. Will that pass the contrast check? Yeah, that passes. The black's better. Portfolio and projects. So, the heading, projects, 39. That's good size. Yep. Now we'll just center that. Space, maybe about 32, so it's about equivalent about 2 lines. Okay, now we had image. We had a heading. That's 39. So that's going to be 31. And some text. Yeah, some Cicero Latin. Insert the text. Yep. Back to our normal palette. That's going to be normal size text. Okay. Now, distance. At the moment they're about 16 apart. That's probably going to be a little close, I think. That's 3. Make that text about the same width. Right, let's drop an image in there. Okay, so there's project 1. How's it going to look? Yeah, could work. Now, need a little bit of space between these, I think. Also need to make this much longer. Okay, so a bit more space. Right, so that's project 2. Project 3. And we'll give them some different images. And there we go. How's that looking? Bit bland like that. I like the idea I had on the paper of swapping them around. Let's try that. That over there. I'm not sure I did. Oh, the opacity went down. Okay. We get a preview of that. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Next section, latest news. We need something to make it stand out. I reckon a bit of dark text, dark background with white text might do the job. Right. Might go with the border, the fill. Use this one here. Okay. Heading. Just news. Size of that's going to be a heading 2 size, so 39. We'll center that. Stick a news item, news article in this half, and some links in that half. Okay. News item here, and that's going to be the next size down. And we also need to whack some text in there. Oops. Text. And yep, that'll do. And let's go back to our site, and that's going to be normal size. Some text to use for our headings. Alright, we've got those. Right. It's going to need to be a bit more, probably 25. Look at our sizes. White text, links, white text, white text, white text. Right. That needs to line up about there. So how's that doing? There. This lines up to the top there. Final part be the footer. Let's grab our text here and box here. Gonna make that the darker colour, and paste in some text. Now let's move that down. There was, of course, one thing missing. construction. Title 16 regular. Let's bold it. There we go. So we've got some menus down the bottom here. About, home, projects and contact, privacy policy, terms and conditions, equal opportunity policy, some statement about the business, contact information. We've got the name, the address, and a phone number. Let's just bring all that up. Right, let's just remove the layout things. Yep, that's reasonably passable. Let's bring that up to here and check out the preview. There's a border, I'm not sure about that. Might keep it, might not. Final part be the footer. Let's grab our text here, box here. Gonna make that the darker colour and paste in some text. Now let's move that down. There was, of course, one thing missing. Reconstruction. Title 16 regular. Let's bold it. There we go. So we've got some menus down the bottom here. About, home, projects and contact, privacy policy, terms and conditions, equal opportunity policy, some statement about the business, contact information. We've got the name, the address, and a phone number. Let's just bring all that up. Right, let's just remove the layout things. Yep, that's reasonably passable. Let's bring that up to here and check out the preview. There's a border, I'm not sure about that. Might keep it, might not. Let's review what we've got. We've got a header up the top here, logo, and we've got our menu, got a typo and an employment, so let's fix that up. Projects, contact us. We now have a hero part here. We build your dream. Then we move down to some cards explaining what it is the business does. A call to action, which is all within the top of the whole of the page. Then we've got our projects, image, title, brief description, These will be clickable links, of course. Alternating them around. Yep, kind of don't mind that. Then we've got our latest news. I can probably do a bit better with the formatting on that, but gives us some ideas for the design perspective. And we've got our menu here and a secondary menu. We also have our statement, and we have some contact information. I'd probably also add things like social media down the bottom there, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever happens to be working. But yeah, I think we've got something that we can work with, and we can actually build this. We've taken our discovery ideas, we've turned them into some scrawly scratchings on paper, and turned that paper into a slightly higher fidelity design that I've got sort of set up here. Yeah, I think we can then move on to actually building it. So thank you for watching. I hope you've got something out of it, and the next one will get the project sort of started. So